Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
I suited up for the 50 grand for this one, James.
Now, you suited up because you were doing a talking commentary today, which is why if anyone's wondering why the podcast's out a bit later than usual, it's that, and also I couldn't get out of bed this morning.
I ended up, it went to the Ricoh Arena, but also it's now known as the Coventry Building Society Arena, James. Although every road sign still says Ricoh Arena, and then every sign inside there is just basically full of Ricoh. So yeah, the place has changed, but it hasn't, kind of.
They lost last night. They've been doing very well, actually, Coventry, but they lost at home to Swansea last night. How was your Sky week, mate?
Sky week was not good.
Okay,
not
whammed.
good. So let me just pull up my points in front of me. My team. That would have helped if I'd have got it ready.
All right, I'll tell you about my week. Wasn't great either. 84 points.
More than me.
Saved somewhat by Conor Gallagher. He's becoming a bit of a Sky legend, isn't he? 18-pointer at Manchester City on Saturday. And not being stubborn, because obviously I sold Rafinha last week. I bought him back on Sunday. The worst thing you can do with something like that, I think, is just, principle now, I've sold him. You should have to look at it and go, I called it wrong. I thought he'd be out for a little while. Got it wrong. Get him back in. It was kind of, I guess, brave to move to captaincy off Antonio to put it on him, but the principal idea of that made it worth it as well. So, and he turned up, didn't he? And did the business for a 28-pointer. So, 46 of my points from Gallagher and Rafinha. And quite often, how many times have we looked at it this year and gone, yeah, there's 5 points from my midfield. And actually, Dave turned up the business for me this week. 10-pointer from Salah, 10-pointer from Rudiger, 7-pointer from Ruben Diaz. I captained Damari Gray on Monday. An assist from Kai Havertz. Yay. No show from Mbuemo. 1-pointer from Emi Martinez. Laporte -1. It was a pain in the arse. It's one of them things that keeps swinging against me because I don't think there's too many people on double Man City defence, and it's just not turning up for me at the moment. I'm going to keep Laporte because it's only a one-game ban. But yeah, he could lose his place to John Stones, right?
Yeah, if Stones comes in and plays well, which he's capable of doing, then yeah, I can see that. And how many points, if I may ask, does that give you overall?
Oh, now you're testing me, Suj.
If you click on leaderboard.
I know where to click. 877. Okay. I'm about 100 points off the top 100, which is way too far behind, really.
Well, if that's far behind, I'm 75 points behind you. I have only 802 points, and I'm 10,000 overall, which is not great.
No, sort it out.
To be honest with you, it doesn't really matter because Paul McNulty's a very generous guy, and he's going to buy us all drinks because if he's sitting pretty in the top 100 with his many transfers, he better be generous. I'm not catching him.
No, I can't see me catching someone like Paul either, to be honest.
71 points for me, James. Unhelpfully, obviously, I captained Salah on the Saturday. It was neither here nor there.
You've got to at the moment.
Exactly that. I, like you, picked up Ruben Diaz and Rudiger points. Pretty straightforward. Ben White's clean sheet was a real gift after he'd basically done fuck all in a single captaincy days twice in a row. So Ben White's
preferred to have it for one of the captaincy days, though, wouldn't you?
Sanchez only a 1-pointer. Sunday, I swung with Antonio against Rafinha.
You own Rafinha?
Yeah, I owned Rafinha. And I swung with Antonio. I thought, well...
I think it was a close call. It's easy to be hindsight merchant and say, Rafinha was the better call. I think it was very close, actually. I mean, look, West Ham scored 4.
We scored 4 goals. This is the point, right? And he didn't get any returns. And I still got Rafinha's points 14. That wasn't too bad. On the Monday night, I'll fill in the gaps in a second. I think Monday night, I had Markel, who obviously was not going to play. I wanted to pick a player that was going to give me a big upside. I basically got to the point where I was fed up with looking at crap players in my team that never return. St. Maximin, Markel, Sanchez in goal hadn't been particularly great. And I went with Hwang.
You're unlucky.
I went with Hwang. And of all the tiers that I thought Hwang was going to get, tackle tier 2 was not the one I thought he was going to get, mate. But 10 points is better than 4. And so for him to pick up tackle tier 2 on Monday kind of made me feel a little bit better about myself.
I'm
and he definitely
surprised.
outscored a lot of people.
I'm surprised you went that way because I obviously tipped up one player on the Sky Pod last
Kilman,
week.
yeah.
And then on Monday's Q&A, like we had three questions in a row and like Sky, and I was like, Kilman, 6.2 does the business. And obviously he scored. And I'm sitting there smug until I remember, oh, he's not in my team though.
Yeah, no. I went for the high upside, James. I just felt like I need to be a bit more. I'm behind. I'm losing ground. I've had not a great weekend because I had Antonio St. Maximin, Ward-Prowse were my other players, and then Kai Havertz got an assist as well. I'm losing ground week in, week out, and it's not for want of trying. And so I decided to go with a bigger upside. I thought his ownership's going to be low. There's not particularly many people in that entire game really with crazy ownership that could have gone off big. So I went Hwang, and he was cheap. And so I kept me money in the bank. But I'm now lined up, James, with Sanchez in goal.
Yeah.
I would rather have Martinez. Diaz, Ben White, Rudiger. I don't really want Ben White long term. His tier pointing is basically non-existent, to be honest with you. Rafinha is fine to stay. Ward-Prowse I need for Friday for captaincy, but I'm not particularly interested in him moving forward. Although perhaps I have recency bias because he's not played for a couple of games, because he does tick over nicely.
Yeah, he's decent Sky asset, JWP.
I guess it's buying him and then him getting sent off and then having to hold through the suspensions has recency bias with JWP.
I get that.
So Maximin needs to go. Although if Eddie Howe comes into Newcastle, which is looking more and more likely, I need to see. I don't know if there's anything to read into the fact that Eddie Howe had Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson at Bournemouth, whether he can get a tune out of them, whether St. Maximin can fit into that system with players that he already knows. Kai Havertz is going after this week. Hwang could go as quickly as he came. Excuse me, he could go as quickly as he came. Salah stays. Antonio stays for now. So there's quite a few there that I could stick on the chopping block.
Okay, so how much in the bank?
£3.3 million.
Nice. How many transfers used?
34.
Okay, so you've used 6. Okay, that's fine. That's very, very reasonable.
Yeah, I'm happy to just tick along a transfer a week. So I'm happy to use 4 or 5 transfers between now and the end of November, start of December. Okay. But obviously we've got the international break. So
who do you want to get rid of? Just list the players. St. Maximin, Hwang, You're thinking already, maybe.
Yeah, Havertz,
yeah.
Ben White, and Robert Sanchez.
Okay, who are your forwards at the moment? Antonio
and Salah.
Okay, so and how many midfielders you got?
5.
Yeah. Somehow I've got 5 at the moment as well. Like I think this is an issue. And it's obviously it's not the way I'd planned it, was to have like Havertz, and obviously Mbeumo did come in for Rafinha. Then Rafinha coming back in was obviously I'd sold Joel Matip because he was suddenly was out of the Liverpool team. Otherwise, ironically, I probably wouldn't have got Rafinha back.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out how I ended up in this situation. I basically ended up with Sanchez because Pickford didn't play. And then they had the Monday game. So I went to Sanchez. Was it Monday or Sunday? They had a game after Pickford, basically. So he was the sensible same value keeper to go to. Ben White, I only got in because of the single game day captaincy coverage, which was a blowout. I had the option of Gallagher or St. Maximin. And I ended up going with St. Maximin because I didn't need Conor Gallagher for the Arsenal captaincy, and looking at that now wasn't particularly the greatest idea.
Do you want to do you want to keep Antonio long term? Because obviously there's some rougher fixtures coming in the next 5. Admittedly, then it does spring nice for him, kind of from the 12th of December, but or the 15th of December you could go back on if you don't want to go back that
because
Sunday.
if I move away from Antonio, I can be more aggressive, right? Moving away from Antonio is about moving to a player that will give me bigger upside. And I need some bigger upside right now. So I've no problem moving away from Antonio if it allows me a jump up in points and being a bit more aggressive. I'm happy to use a transfer for that and get him back.
The other thing you need
here is no price rises, right? So FPL, different conversation. I'm going to keep him in that because I can't be stomaching a 0.4 loss in value.
The other thing you need to think about, obviously, is what you want to do for December. So it's all right to say you got that money in the bank, but do you want to be sitting there with Ronaldo, Kane and Salah come December? So there's obviously what I mentioned 2 weeks ago, this kind of idea that you can hop on and off Ronaldo and Salah. You miss Salah versus Villa at home. Yikes. You miss Ronaldo at home to Brighton. Yikes. Or do you want to get all three of them in together? Now, I'm reworking my plan to have all three of them throughout December and then not worry about it. And hopefully it will save me a lot of transfers in December. Shit can obviously happen in between injury, suspension and whatnots that will change the plan. But that's the principal idea of where I want to get to. I want to tell you what I've got in mind for my plan, Suj, and I think it might help you with some of yours.
Yeah, I'm hoping this kind of dissection of my team helps the listeners a little bit, because I don't want it to just be about my team and what have you. But yeah, I mean, there are a few names already in my mind, like Ben White to Adam Webster, if he's available. Is a sideways move that's a tick along for sure.
So my plan is to make 2 moves this coming weekend, which I can be a little bit nervous about, because I don't think before international weekend is necessarily the right time to be forcing moves. But I think these are 2 very, very obvious moves for me. I, like you, have used, I've used 7 transfers now, Suj. I've got 3.3 million in the bank as well.
Same as me. Oh.
But I'm conscious not to spend it all, because I need to work that Ronaldo plan. So my plan is 4 transfers to get to there for Thursday, the 2nd of December, which is Ronaldo at home to Arsenal. It's not the best fixture, but it's a very reasonable entry point. I think you either go in the 2nd or Sunday the 5th when they host Crystal Palace instead, if this is the way you want to go.
What you're saying is who you're buying and when, basically. So you're buying Ronaldo at home for Arsenal.
That's the plan.
Okay.
And there's 3 transfers before that to improve the team and make sure that happens. The first one is Saturday. Emi Martinez to Alvaro Fernandez. So I wasn't impressed with what I saw at him and Burnley. And I think they may have some problems aerially now, despite the fact they're a good side aerially themselves. But they also ain't going to play Burnley every week. Mm-hmm. I think 6.0 for a goalkeeper for...
That's what he came in at, is it?
6 million, yeah.
Cheap.
Yeah, exactly. It's for one of the teams that's been the best defensive side in the league so far. In terms of expected goals conceded, I think they're either 3rd or 4th. That might have taken a little bit of a hit following Saturday, but they've been very good defensively. My original strategy was to get Raya. I'm now saving another 0.3 on top of that, which opens up a couple of different potential moves. So I want to go to Fernandez from Martinez Saturday. And I think those who've got Emi Martinez should seriously consider that move, because the best goalkeeper in this game by a mile at the moment is obviously Mendy. Mm-hmm. But if you're not on now, you're going to chase on now when you're right at the end of these fixtures. Now, I could go Martinez to Mendy on Saturday, of course, as well. And I think Martinez owners should make one of these moves. Either go up to Mendy or come all the way down to Fernandez. I've decided, because of what I need going forward, I'm going to go Fernandez. And I think the saving, he's obviously not going to match Mendy, but the saving will help me in the longer run for other moves. I'm also, it's nothing to do with this original move, because I could do it anyway now. I'm going to go Havertz to Kane this Sunday. I was going to hold off an extra week, but I'm just going to go and do it now. I still captain Salah Sunday, because I think I've got to, because of the 99.9% ownership in the top 1,000 at the moment. And Kane's ownership is low enough that it's a differential in itself relative for Sky Fantasy. So,
and the 3.3 allows you to do that, because I'm in the same boat as you. So, or do you need the money from downgrading Martinez as well?
I partly do. Not for that particular move on Sunday. That will leave me with 2 million in the bank. The following Sunday, I intend to go to Antonio. This is on Sunday the 21st. To João Cancelo, who I don't own. Is a brilliant asset in this game, right? That will leave me 1.3 million in the bank, which is just about enough to go from Ruben Diaz to Cristiano Ronaldo on Thursday, the 2nd of December. And then I don't have anything further beyond that particularly planned at the moment. The January fixtures actually should have dropped last Friday. We still haven't got them at the time of recording. I guess it could be by the time this is posted, actually. But that will give us the kind of clear route from the end. Following there, we might get an announcement of what most of us are expecting, which is the overhaul is going to be at the end of January rather than in February, because of this big gap, because of this international block of fixtures that's the end of January, which is very unusual. And there's also the FA Cup 4th round. That makes far more sense. We don't know when Chelsea's Club World Cup's going to be at the moment. We know it's now going to be in 2022. So I think in terms of too much longer term plan, I'm chilled about it. Now, there are other moves that I would like to make. And the main one being, I want a Brighton defender. Too much for me. Like, it's fucking bollocks. So I'm kind of looking at a strategy idea that as soon as I've got a problem, it's entry Brighton. So if I get an injury in the Champions League tonight, for example, there's every chance I'm just going and buying Lewis Dunk. I penciled in a move of Mbuemo to Webster, assuming he's back in the team on Sunday, the 12th of December. But I'm missing a lot of good Brighton fixtures over that run. And Lewis Dunk, I mean, starts on 5 points. This Saturday, captaincy is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I would say because of ownership, Rudiger is probably the safest way to go for the majority. I wouldn't mind betting that Lewis Dunk's the best choice, home to Newcastle on Saturday. Yeah. So any problems, I may go to Dunk and I may captain him straight away on Saturday as a possibility. I think Rudiger played in Sweden last night in the Champions League, which made people a little bit nervous that he might not start against Malmo, against Burnley on Saturday. But I would look at his last game before the internationals. And with Burnley's aerial prowess, I don't see why he'd get left out, actually. Although I'll go back on what I said on the previous podcast this week. I think Ben Chilwell probably will now play, as Marcos Alonso played last night. So Brighton's the contingency to fall into if I've got any problems. But I've got to be careful with the money, right? Because once I make that Diaz to Ronaldo move, it's 0.1. That's all there is. So there's not a lot of wiggle room here for me to get to that point. So with those in mind, do those transfers help you in any way? I mean, do you think, right, okay, Havertz to Kane, for example, on Sunday?
Yeah, Havertz to Kane definitely is an option. St. Maximin to or Ward-Prowse, but I don't think I'll sell Ward-Prowse. Give him a chance. Southampton, to be fair, haven't been as bad as I thought they would be this season, so I'm happy to keep Ward-Prowse. So St. Maximin to the Brighton defender seems a good off from St. Maximin.
You can't go Webster at the moment, though. You know what I'd do with St. Maximin, I think?
Keep him this week.
I'd go to Smith Rowe on Sunday.
Okay, well, he's got Brentford next week, though. So a home tie against Brentford.
Yeah, Smith Rowe's got Watford at home on Sunday.
You think Smith Rowe's
Newcastle
a good
at home
shout?
too after that.
Yeah,
and have you got any Everton Arsenal coverage at the moment?
No. Ben White.
Oh, you have? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But Ben White,
I'd consider that. Smith Rowe. You can't move to Webster on Saturday. There's no guarantee he's going to play. It could be that they obviously changed to a back four against Liverpool. It could be it's Duffy and Dunk again for a little bit. I think you can't buy Duffy either. So if you're going there this week, it's got to be Dunk.
Yeah. I'm going to keep Hwang. They're away at Palace this week, which is tough.
They've got a good 4 fixtures.
Well, Palace are in form. West Ham is West Ham. Burnley's Burnley. So they're not the worst 4 fixtures, let's be honest. They're not playing any of the big 6 or whatever any of the big boys anyway. Big 3, let's call it now, because I'm not convinced about this big 6 thing anymore. But they are playing some difficult teams. Burnley, Palace and West Ham are organised, if nothing else. So it's not great on paper, but it's good enough that he can stay at his price, you know?
Do you know what I would look at for you? And this is a roundabout's way of doing this. It means you need to stay with 4 in midfield and 2 up front for a little bit. But I would look, if I was you, at how you were going to move Hwang to Ronaldo on Thursday the 2nd and work backwards from there.
For that, I would need the best part of £5 million. Not quite, but close.
So if you want Ronaldo or Bruno when it comes round, you need to start figuring that out now. If you want to go down that route, or excuse me, the alternative is you're looking at that hop on, hop off.
I mean, I don't necessarily need a Dunk or a Webster while I've got Sanchez in goal. So I might just take the view that if Sanchez is sitting there, then I let him sit there and I don't overly worry about getting a Brighton defender.
What price is Sanchez?
He's 6.5, James.
Yeah, it's fine. I wouldn't bother moving that, mate.
So he stays and Ben White stays, because Arsenal's fixtures that you mentioned are fairly okay for the next few. Watford is fine. Liverpool's difficult, but then Newcastle. So maybe after Newcastle for the Man United game.
So in terms of finding money, you know, I gave you a list of very budget defensive midfielders last week. I'd cross Oliver Skip off of those 3 options now. But Kucha and Norgard, I think if you really need to kind of find some money, are options you consider. Norgard, there's an entry point Sunday the 28th. Kucha, there's an entry point this Sunday or on the same date. That would also give you haven't got any Brentford Watford at the moment, have you?
No.
So you may want something of that for Friday the 10th, which you can then move on again if you want to. Livramento is getting spoken about a lot in terms of trying to find captaincy for Friday. I don't like it as an entry point. I think, though, for those who don't own, it's reasonable. And one of the beauties with Livramento, of course, is Norwich is their next fixture as well. Then, no, there's some tougher fixtures: Liverpool, Leicester, Brighton, Arsenal. Wouldn't be overly enamored with that. So, I mean, Livramento is not a consideration for me at the moment. But again, for usage, trying to find the money, your cash cow basically is going to be Ruben Diaz, mate, to find your money. So, in terms of the money you need to find for Ronaldo, once you've gone Havertz to Kane, it's going to put you back to what, 1.3 million or so. To then find that Hwang to Ronaldo, if that's the move you want to consider, you need to get that up to about 4 million. So you're going Ruben Diaz down to sort of Adam Webster level, aren't you?
Maybe a little, but yeah, Webster would probably do the trick.
That's roughly where you're at.
When you move to from Ruben Diaz to Cristiano Ronaldo, what do you expect your backline is going to be? You'll still have Rudiger,
so
Webster / Dunk.
That would leave me with Cancelo, Laporte, Rudiger, just a free. But then with a plan of the Webster contingency basically at any point. So Mbuemo to Webster, I've got penciled in, as I said, Sunday the 12th to move that back to a 4-3-3. Yeah. So there's a contingency there, but just the 3. And obviously the 0.1, interestingly, is also the difference between Laporte and Stones.
Right.
So if it does become obvious, I may just have to make that sideways and just go Laporte to Stones, and it still works within the plan.
Let's talk about captaincy this weekend coming, and then we do have an international break, and hopefully by the time we record for you again, listeners, they will announce those January flipping fixtures, James?
I'm not in a rush for it, to be particularly honest. And I guess as well, selfishly as a Spurs fan, the only 2 league games we've got in January beyond the New Year's Day fixtures are Chelsea and Arsenal, so it doesn't affect me from worrying about travel or anything like that, right?
Yeah, we have even as a West Ham fan, we have very few games. Liverpool this week, and then we haven't got a home game until December. It's mad.
I think we've got 6 or 7. We've got 6 or 7 home games in December, actually.
Wow, ours is not anything like that. We've got a very away packed Christmas, apart from Christmas, Boxing Day, which is at home. You
know what that means, don't you? 2 pairs of socks, sweetheart. That's a necessity at football in this weather. Well, you got to make sure with the 2 pairs of socks, they've got to be different thickness, so it don't work.
Listen,
I wear my thin pair and a thick pair.
Right, I wear my running tights underneath my jeans, mate, when I go.
Do you really?
Yeah, mate.
You should have been a goalkeeper, mate.
Well, if it's properly cold, then need to do it, mate. Sitting on the terraces. Southampton Villa, Friday night. I'm JWP all the way. You are Emi Martinez all the way?
Yeah. There's no intention to move.
It's basically, who have you got? Captain, who you've got?
A little bit. Should the team drop and Martinez not be in it, I would consider working something for Martinez, for Livramento. I think for me, that would probably look like Damari Gray to Livramento. So like in my plan at the moment, I've got no move in Damari Gray, but I don't want that. And I'm not that bothered about Everton Arsenal because I think there's an entry point for Arsenal. Kind of in my mind thinking I might even sideways that Damari Gray to Smith Rowe a little bit earlier. I could do that on Thursday the 2nd. Get the Smith Rowe game at United. It's not much of a game. And then fight against it. I'm kind of loath to make that sort of move because then you know on the night that Gray will outscore him. But I think he's one who is in a lot of teams who most people are looking at going, don't want that. This is why I advised against buying Everton on Monday night because the escape routes are not clever. It would actually be handy if he picked up a little injury and kind of then forces the move a little bit. Yeah. Martinez for me, as I said, if for some reason wasn't in the team, I would probably consider that Gray to Livramento, open up a bit more money again and stuff. But it's not a game you should worry about, in my opinion. Like if you're sitting there with no coverage, fine, you're sitting there with no coverage. Those who gambled on Danny Ings, I feel a little bit sorry for, obviously on Sunday because it didn't turn up. But I think certainly on our Slack channel, we'd heard the rumours early in the day that there was a good chance that Danny Ings wasn't going to play. Douglas Luiz didn't play either. They're not in a good spot at the moment, Villa. I think you'd fancy Southampton to win, so I've got no particular hopes for a clean sheet from that particular fixture. Although goalkeepers away from home do tend to pick up a save point against Southampton, so that if you can walk away with a 4-pointer for me, I'll
take it.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I'm looking to move him on, as I said, to Fernandes on the Saturday.
which is a bit of I won't call it a shit show per se Saturday, but it's not
It's tough.
ideal. It's not ideal. Um, the the standout for me on paper would be probably Rudiger from my team at home to Burnley, but I don't know if he's going to play, so I have to take a gamble. So option A is if Ruben Diaz is playing against Manchester United, just hunker down, and at least I know he's playing.
He will be, won't he?
Yeah, so that's option one, and then option two is to go with Chelsea, or Havertz or Rudiger.
You have to think that the way United obviously been pressing or not pressing in games, in spite of this changed system.
I don't think they'll be pressing again.
Well, you've got to think that the City guys will be very good for the Parsons here. So is it the worst shout to go with a Ruben Diaz? I presume John Stones will play. Even Cancelo. I'd consider Cancelo if I had, actually. I think for myself, I'm probably going to go to Rudiger. I because of Burnley's the way they play offensively, in terms of being unapologetic, getting the ball into the box from wide areas, I would be very surprised if Rudiger didn't play, personally. So I think Rudiger's a safer call, although ironically, Parsons here at home to Burnley is not as guaranteed as you would think, because they revert into a flat 4-4-2 without the ball, stop the ball going into midfield areas. Their midfield like to press high, so teams generally have to play more direct against Burnley than what people generally associate with. So I don't think it'd even be a guarantee that Rudiger would hit Parsons here, despite getting nearly as many passes as Newcastle the previous weekend. I think that's where I'm going to go. I wouldn't even rule out considering Fernandes, you know.
Bruno?
No, Alvaro.
Oh, Alvaro,
Fernandes.
Brentford at home to Norwich.
I just look at it and go, it looks like a 9-pointer, doesn't it?
I think psychologically for Norwich, it's almost like I won't call it a championship tie, but at least they're coming against a team that they competed against last year. I think they'll know they want to get something out of that, and will probably feel more confident about it because Brentford did come up only this year. So I think Brentford are going to win, but I don't think it's going to be straightforward. But it's an option. I mean, yeah, it just goes to show that this is going to be a particularly difficult weekend for captaincy, because when we look at the Sunday, doesn't get much easier.
No, so you just close your eyes and go with Salah. That's the end of it. It's fine.
You're going Kane, though?
It's not the time. No, I'll go Salah.
No,
I'll buy Kane, but I'll go Salah.
Buy Kane, but go Salah.
Kane's got to come in for me either Sunday the 7th or Sunday the 21st, one or the other. And I'm looking at it, it's a judgment call. Okay, yeah, there's a little bit of risk that Harry could pick up an injury during the international break, but I don't think enough to worry. You know, if I'm sitting there, I'm worried about injuries for not making a transfer. No, I look at it and go, I potentially revitalise Tottenham. Harry Kane away to Everton. Does he outscore Kai Havertz away to Leicester, who may not even play if Lukaku and Werner are back available? And the answer is, yeah, let's go with Harry. Let's get him in now, get it ready, forget about it. So I'm going Harry Sunday, but captaincy wise, definitely Salah. I think the one to shoot against, if people want to really do it, if you are still sitting there with Aubameyang, home to Watford, that's the one to consider possibly.
Is this a fixture for Aubameyang still part of his 7-for-2 or something like that, James? Are we out of that now?
Yeah.
Gary is still part of his 7-for-2.
Yeah, it's end of Liverpool games, kind of the end of that, I think. So
okay, so Gary is my cap player, still living the dream with Aubameyang and his 7-for-2 somewhere.
He's a Manchester United fan. He's still living the dream with Ollie at the wheel, isn't he? Antonio Conte says good morning. I think Aubameyang's the one to punch against. Otherwise, don't bother. Perhaps those who got Vardy, Leeds away. Tomorrow's clash of correspondence with Andy Martin and Aaron Lagor previewing Leeds Leicester. We're all in agreement. Goals in that game, no doubt about it. So Vardy possibly as well, but Aubameyang's the only one I would consider punching against. I think I wouldn't captain Kane over Salah this week.
No, definitely not.
That's a no.
Yeah, no. Salah picked up a couple of returns last
Lewis
year.
Dunk is the other one, as I already said, for Saturday. What's interesting about all those names we mentioned for Saturday are all defensive. I mean, do you or I dare take the chance on Havertz again?
No, I want to. I would love to, but no.
What about Cristiano Ronaldo as an option?
If you own, we don't own.
Would you captain him against City over even Diaz?
I'd be very tempted. I'd be very tempted.
Suj has got a big Ronaldo man crush going on at the moment.
At the moment, but how many goals has he scored since he arrived at Manchester United?
Perhaps not as
4
many
in
as
the
we
4
would
or
have
5 in the
expected.
league. Well, including Champions League, he scored plenty, mate.
Nah, Ronaldo's a one goal a game person, isn't he? He's fucking underperforming, mate.
I think that's a bit harsh.
Some
He's just
Ronaldo
weak
fanboy. I don't know if on the Sky Fantasy pods we have to deal with Ronaldo fanboys or not. He's got 3 in the last 2. I'm very aware.
This is very much fantasy fanboy for Cristiano Ronaldo. His Wikipedia hasn't been updated yet, so I couldn't tell you, but he's doing okay and he's ticking along nicely.
Ronaldo's Wikipedia hasn't been updated.
No, for this season, it says 4 goals in 7 games. He hasn't played. He's played more than 7 games for.
I think that's how many league goals he's got. Such 4 in 7. That's right. I think.
I wonder why it won't then show
2 against Newcastle, 1 at West Ham, and 1 at Tottenham.
But
that's his league goals. I think 4 in 7 sounds right.
That's. I feel like what's listed. It just says senior career. It doesn't say includes international. Domestic league only. Okay, fine. Yeah, there we go. That's domestic is 4 in 7. So he's scored at least 4 or 5 Champions League goals, hasn't he?
5, I think, in Champions League. I think 5 and 4. I think
9 already. At his age, with his state of career.
So there you go. He's 9 and 11. He's underperforming. Shut up. Let's move on. That's a very good record, isn't it?
Dear, what I would give for a striker that scored 9 in 11 anytime.
And that's why, for me, I know a lot of people kind of. I'm not sure. I want Ronaldo for December. I think you do.
Trust me. And I just the thing with this game against City particularly is how big is his ego going to be if he scores the winner against City at Old Trafford? Like that's what he lives for.
It's not going to be any bigger than. It's not going to be any bigger than what it is now, mate. Don't worry about it.
That's true, but he's going to want it desperately. So I do like Ronaldo as well as a shout for Saturday. If you already own him, I wouldn't be buying him for that game though.
No. Entry point for Ronaldo really is the 2nd or the 5th of December.
So, how do you fancy tackling a few of the questions that we've had on Twitter, Jane?
No, can't be bothered. End the podcast, mate.
We'll get through all of them. Is your head still hurting?
I got a banging headache today. Go on, let's do it. Come
We'll do it rapid fire.
Let's do it.
Right. Owen Jones. Owen, thank you for your question. Who do you think will be the most captain player this Saturday? Who do you think will be the most captain?
I think it'd probably be Rudiger.
Okay, by default. His
Rudiger's
ownership is particularly
He's massive,
high.
Isn't it? Isn't he like 70% in the top 1,000 or so? 73.3.
Rudiger right now, 73.3 in the top 1,000.
Yeah, and I think it's that.
Ruben Diaz, by comparison, 49.2.
Yeah, I think it's that, the Rudiger ownership, which will make it swing that way. I guess some people are going to get nervous because he played in the Champions League last night. Like I said, my opinion on Rudiger is most nailed. He's 9 out of 10 in terms of appearances. I do not anticipate they're going to leave him out for Burnley at home. Plus, the backup really in that position is Malang Sarr. They haven't kind of flirted with anything else as left-sided centre-back. So I think Rudiger plays. That's probably the sensible choice. I wouldn't be surprised if it's only a 7-pointer rather than a 10. But I think that's probably where I'm going to go.
Yeah, indeed. Next question's coming in from All Bruno Gray, Amari Gray, that is, to Livramento on Friday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't hate it. That's kind of what I just said.
It doesn't give any indication of whether or not he's needed for captaincy, but he just assumes so. I
think if you've got no coverage for Friday and you're sitting there with Damari Gray, it's one that you should consider. I think if, like I said, if something happened to Martinez, that's where I'd suddenly be considering in terms of a transfer. So it's unconventional Sky move and don't normally recommend it. But I think you look at it longer term and go, do I want Damari Gray long term? Most of us are going to say no. Therefore, I don't hate the move.
Yeah. Dragos would like to know what to do with Kane now. Well, you're buying on Saturday and you're going Sunday, sorry. And the other alternative entry point is the 21st, as you mentioned, on Sunday. But I think I'm likely to go towards Kane as well. I'm really excited for Spurs from a fantasy point of view with this Conte appointment. So yeah, I think Kane
I would really like to have Kane and Son from the Leeds game. It's not going to work for me. It might do in my second team. I might go down that route, actually, just look at it for those 4 fixtures and then kind of hop off Sunday 5th, probably go Suns or Aubameyang on Monday the 6th, for example. I'd really, really like to do that. It's not going to work for me, though. Not going to work.
We have to give a shout out here to, I'm just pulling up the question, in your dreams, Darren, each and every week. This week he says, I'll skip the Rice question because every week he asks us whether we should buy
fair game.
Rice. But Darren, also very close, got in with the question. Who's the best sub 7.5 midfielder who rhymes with ice?
Well, he's now, because we kept saying, let's be honest,
who's the highest scoring West Ham
midfielder,
midfielder,
etc. Yada yada. Rice has now got more points.
Yes.
So, and he did complete the unique feat on Sunday, which is very rare in Sky, of shot, passing, tackle, man of the match, goal.
Nice. He didn't get an assist. He should have got an assist, bastard.
Yeah, I know.
Because that would have been a full house.
Proper
full
lazy
house.
Shit. But
I
mean, he fixes the problem at the price, doesn't he?
He's more and more of an all-round midfielder. He's driving forward more. West Ham are scoring goals. And he's a lock, man. He plays week in, week out. So
hang on,
I don't mind.
He did get an assist at the weekend as well. He assisted Johnson's goal. So he
really
did get the lot.
Full house.
Absolutely everything, yeah.
Full house. Was it tier 2s on the
no, all tier 1s, but he's hit the lot. It's good, man.
Didn't do a Pogba. Rice is going from strength to strength. I don't mind Declan Rice at all at that price point, although I will be buying Emil Smith-Rowe instead.
I would say the unusual partisan tiers, and we have seen a few recently, the Villa game, I think Southampton away, he had a partisan tier as well. You're not going to see them in the next 5 games that West Ham have got with those fixtures.
Definitely not Liverpool and what have you.
The tackle tier of that, I think he had 8 tackles against Tottenham, so that potential is still there. You're far less likely to have the shot tiers. West Ham assets are in a probably non-buy zone. I would say, though, for the first time, I'd put my hands up and say, if it fixes you a financial problem and opens that kind of door where you can look at having Ronaldo, Kane and Salah in December, fine, look at it.
Yes. We have Kermit the Winger, best Spurs defender. Do you want to laugh, James?
Stop it. Next fucking question.
To target if Conte makes them solid at the back. All I would say, Kermit, is when Conte makes them solid at the back, please re-ask your question because we're not really going to be looking at getting any of them now.
I'll give you the answer though. It's Emerson Royal at 7.9, and I mean you compare that to what Dunk at 8.4 and stuff. For me, it's just like no, forget it. But he had pass and tackle tier against United at the weekend. Now I don't think you're going to see pass and tier very often from him. He had tackle tier at Newcastle as well, and it's not the first time he's hit it. Tackle tier against Chelsea. There's a few tackle tiers, and he's often on the borderline of tackle tiers, even if he doesn't hit it. And the same used to be for Serge Aurier at Tottenham. But Tottenham are likely to play a completely different system now. I can't tell you if Emerson's going to be wing back or right-sided centre-back, because I think they might look at Lucas Moura as a right wing back, possibly. So, I mean, this is not a... It's not a conversation at the moment to be considering Tottenham defence. Even with them fixtures, you want a Tottenham player for this period because consider the goalkeeper, or obviously Harry and Sonny. Don't be clever about it otherwise.
So considering the goalkeeper, Gary would like to know his Jose Sarr exit plan was always Hugo Lloris. Yes, really. Which week do you think is the best week to do it, given it's a fixture gain every week? Currently penciled for Norwich versus Wolves, and then Lloris in for Burnley for Spurs.
No, I'd wait. I think I'd wait one more. Actually, the following one is then Wolves at home to Burnley, and then Tottenham at home to Brentford. I think I'd wait one more. I'd look at that and go, it's a close enough call to say, well, just keep putting this back. I'll keep putting this back. When it's a close call like that, I would say wait as long as you can, because then something else might develop and your plan changes or something. So I would say probably the week after, which is Wolves' last good fixture, the Burnley one as well, then Lloris versus Brentford, if that's the way you want to go. But I suspect by the time you get there, you might consider someone else possibly.
Paul Dolan, who's the best replacement for Ismail Assar? Do you need to sell him?
Declan Rice. No. Well, there isn't yet. So your escape point really is, I think you're holding for Arsenal and Manchester United the next 2. Then you're looking at Sunday 21st. If you haven't got Rafinha and you can go up to that, that's an obvious one. If you need it to be a midfielder, I would say Højbjerg is possibly about to come off the table. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's not part of Conte's plans. So if you've got, don't shit yourself, but that's That's not the one to buy yet, unless we've got more information.
Smith Rowe, maybe?
Well, it's more the case of if you hold for Watford's game against United Saturday the 20th, which from a Sky strategy perspective in terms of chaining the move is what we'd recommend, you've only then got the choice of City, Tottenham, Everton, Leeds. Or you consider do you need captaincy for Friday? Something like Livramento, if you're sitting there with 4 in midfield. Smith Rowe, just say, fuck it. I'm going to make the sideways move of perhaps a better player at a similar value. I do think, though, Sarr is Watford's talisman. And there is a case to say, you've obviously got that Brentford captaincy. Now, I think it's far enough away in the future not to shit about it. But if you've got no interest in Brentford assets, I'd consider holding him. Because then after Friday, the 10th of December, you can move to any of the other 18 teams in the league. And you've got a full and clearer choice. Watford nearly always go first, though. Actually, that's not true. Sunday the 28th, they're away to Leicester. Wednesday the 1st, they've got Chelsea. Again, you're restricted to United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Brentford assets. So, Watford to Brentford and then captain the Brentford player against Watford instead of Sarr. I think if you've gone that far, you keep Sarr. So I don't hate keeping him because he's the man down there. And I wouldn't have a doubt about that. And if they did well in any of these fixtures, there's every chance of return potential man of the match from him as well.
Okay. Perry Coleman has a question. Perry, thank you for your question. Laporte, stick or twist? For a 1-match ban, I would stick. But then if Stones keeps his place, I would twist.
I'm going to give the next couple of days some thought about going Laporte to Dunk on Saturday. But I think I'm going to keep Laporte. But it will pain me if that City team comes around against Everton the following week and Stones is in it instead of Laporte. I'm going to know that I've missed Dunk against Newcastle and Villa. So I will consider Laporte to Dunk. I feel like it's a luxury move where because of injuries and other issues at the moment, I've not been able to kind of make any. I'm not sure if I want that to be a luxury one. That said, Lewis Dunk goes in and you forget about him.
Yep, he does stay for
My
a while.
other regret with that will be, like I said, if Webster does go back in the team, I could have saved 1.4 million there. But Dunk's the guarantee of the points if they're going to go back to a back three.
We have a question from Gary. He wants to know if your transfer plan involved bringing in Webster for Matty Cash on Saturday, what would you do instead? Do we know what the status is with Webster? Because he could play any game now.
Yeah, he's fit.
So
he played an hour at Leicester in the Carabao Cup. He was at fault for one of the goals, but also scored himself. And then obviously was a substitute at Liverpool. And what's made it even more problematic to assess is that they changed to a back four. Now, that might have been a specific for Liverpool. They basically flushed Liverpool out in the middle of the pitch. So it might be they go back to a back three. If they go back to a back three, I would be confident that Webster will play against Newcastle. If it's a back four, I think it could be Duffy again. So you don't really want to make that. This is what I'm saying. That's the problem. And what if that goes on then for 3 or 4 weeks in a back four and they say, well, fine, it's Duffy and Dunk. That's abysmal. I think Webster will come into the team. I think they'll go back to a back three, but I don't think you can make that move.
No. And Dunk generally outscores Webster, not by much, but he does generally outscore Webster over a season.
Yeah, it's just a case of what can you do with the other 1.4 million, basically. I think Dunk's 8.4, I want to say. Was he 8.2?
Dunk is 8.2.
It's what
Webster's
you can do
7 on the nose.
It's what you can do with the other 1.2, that's all.
Michael Race, is it essential to have a captain for this Friday's game?
No.
Southampton Villa. Skip it. He's 31 transfers and in the top 1,000.
No, it's not essential at all.
Okay. AD Tour, sorry, AD. If Ings is out, would you move him to another player to get captaincy in the Friday game or move him to someone else? So he's got Ings, unavailable, needs a captain, where to go? Stick with the same game or skip it?
Either JWP or Livramento for me.
And have a captain.
JWP would be if you decide you say you're really unhappy with your midfield structure and you're happy to pay a little bit more in there and leave him dead and forget him. JWP. If you don't want to think that longer term and you want to find money for the rest of your squad, consider Livramento.
Yeah, Tino Livramento is getting quite a few shout outs as well. Amrabat Joe, is it worth using a transfer to move Diaz stroke Van Dijk to Son for the Spurs double up either this Sunday or the Sunday after?
I would say only if it's going with Kane.
Okay, so double
The
up.
two of them together.
Possible problem with a hop-off point for Antonio, though. It doesn't. It's not a good. It's not a good move from Antonio to Son, is it? Because we play on the same day.
Yeah,
but Liverpool.
But the different way of looking at it is my original plan weeks ago. In fact, only last week was Antonio to Kane on Sunday the 21st. So if you've got the money spare to go Antonio to Son on that on Sunday the 21st rather than this weekend, that's a different consideration rather than selling, say, Diaz. I think if you know you need to find the Diaz money, it's okay to let go.
Yeah.
He's unfortunately, for Ruben Diaz is obviously a brilliant asset in this game, but the likes of Rudiger, Laporte when fit, Cancelo, Joel Matip was competing, Lewis Dunk's competing, Webster at 7. If you need to find that money for the front three, it becomes really difficult to be holding on to someone like Ruben Diaz. That's where most people are going to go and find the money, I think, those with Ruben Diaz.
FF Dempsey would like to know at what point it makes sense to move on from Mikel Antonio. Forward spots are precious, you're right, and we don't need him in captaincy until the Norwich game, which is ages away. I think 18th December, is it? Or something around then.
Yeah, the movement is Sunday the 21st or not at all. Away from Antonio, yeah. Yep. So keep him for Liverpool and Wolves, sell him really for a Tottenham or Manchester City player, i.e. one of the Tottenham forwards, or perhaps like a Cancelo if you don't have, or Laporte, or John Stones if he's suddenly in the team back-to-back games or something. Sunday the 21st, you'll have 5 games over 3 with potential captaincies on top of that before Antonio goes to Burnley on Sunday the 12th.
Darren wants to know if Max Cornet at Burnley is becoming a Sky consideration.
I'm going to say no at the moment. It's just a Burnley and attacking player and Sky Fantasy Football are dirty words that shouldn't really go in the same sentence. He's worth keeping an eye on. I would say the next entry point for him wouldn't be till Sunday the 28th. I don't think, like, if you're selling hypothetical Danny Ings on Saturday, I don't think Cornet is where you're choosing to go for Chelsea away.
No.
So Sunday the 28th, they host Tottenham. Is possibly a time we can look at this again. That's 3-4 weeks ago in terms of real life. So we'll have a look at him over the next couple.
And would you consider captaining Conor Gallagher over Mo Salah on the 20th?
No.
Conor Gallagher plays?
Burnley away.
And Salah plays?
Arsenal at home.
Yeah. Nah.
No. You've got Ronaldo going to Watford that day as well, if for those who are still on. So, no. I don't know if there's a link in that in terms of Gallagher's 2 real hauls. I want to say he's only had 2. You might correct me, Suj. Obviously, West Ham away and Man City away, both away games. I don't know if you're trying. I think it's just coincidental.
Yeah.
Personally. So you're not looking at Gallagher away to Burnley as the best choice.
No. I'm going to skip some of these Spurs questions, James, because we basically rinsed them to death. Craig Kemp, though, is Ward-Prowse a hold beyond Friday's single game day against Villa because their fixtures are better? We talked about Ward-Prowse. I'm going to be holding him. I just think I need to get over this recency bias. If he puts a free kick in the top corner on Friday, I'll be in love with JWP, just as I was a few years ago. So, yeah, he's a hold for me.
Yeah, it's a hold. I think as well, if you've held through this long, through the suspension and stuff, I think that's probably because you're like, well, I really want to hold this player longer term, would be my guess. So I think it's a hold.
Yep. There's a lot of Tielemans or Rice questions. So Ron Mintz at SkyFF, as a long-term hold with no captaincy requirements, would you rather own Rice or Tielemans? I think that's pretty Tielemans, isn't it?
Well, if money's no object, yes. But,
yeah,
but the game's not. The game's probably not that straightforward.
There's 1.3 million between them. And also, heavyweight SkyFF was saying, I've moved off the question. Oh, it's Man on Martin, actually. He currently owns Rodri at Man City. Would you move to Tielemans or Rice now, or do you think that there's someone else that could be a differential?
I would go Tielemans if money is no object on that. Of the two.
Sky Heavyweight is is sitting on Ben Rama and wants to know where to move from side Ben Rama as any good exit points.
Similar to Antonio. The problem is in that midfield area, if you've got 3 in midfield, your options on Sunday the 21st are not great. You're ironically looking at people like perhaps Rodri or Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. If you don't own Rafinha, Sunday the 21st, Ben Rama to Rafinha, reasonable. Otherwise, perhaps he just sits there for a little bit longer. You got similar choices. Thursday the 2nd is not great. Then there's a few more choices Sunday the 5th of December. But then West Ham's fixtures get good again from Sunday the 12th. I tell you a player I got my eye on for potentially Sunday the 12th rather than going back to Antonio Suj, and it's actually a different West Ham player from Declan Rice. He's Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
Underlying numbers looking good.
Yeah.
I think he's playing very well. There's some rumours he might be in the England squad next week, actually.
Well, there's been a lot of talk on social that Southgate should start looking at him. He's 24 years old. I'm sure he's 24 years old. I mean, he's got a hell of a future ahead of him. He's a very, very good player. And he just he's not a very like, I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for, James, but he just gets his head down and gets on with his business. You don't see a lot of remonstrations, just works hard, plays well, no drama that goes with it. So I'm a big fan of him. And if he is in the England squad, well, credit to him. Last couple of questions for the show, James, or the last one actually. Two, sorry, we've got. Andy, Mr. Let's Talk FPL. How do we like some differential captains this week? Mbomo instead of Chelsea defenders and Aubameyang instead of Salah. Aubameyang instead of Salah is fine. I don't have too much of an issue with that. But it's really swinging.
Yeah, Mbomo not a captaincy option.
No.
It's not even start. He's not even certain. I assume he would start, but he's not even certain to start, is he?
No. And last but not least, our friend at Planet Sky, Ian Parrin. Keep up the great work, boys. We'll do our very best. He doesn't have a question this week, but he suggested something for the international break episode. A run through of your transfers this season with a brief thought on how each has worked out. He wants a comedy podcast, doesn't he, really? If he's asking me to review all of my transfers for this season so far. We did actually have a question that I was going to pair with that. Ben Lund said, for those new to Sky this year, any tips on transfer use at this point and then later on in the season? So perhaps in the international break next week, we can look at a bit of a transfer review and a transfer kind of session planning for anybody that wants to think about what they should and shouldn't be doing.
I've got the best line ever in terms of Sky advice. Listen to what I say, don't do what I do.
Do as I say, not as I do. That's the one.
You can copy my team if you want. By all means, you ain't winning fuck all, mate.
There we go. That was solid, enjoyable chat about Sky. I've got a few ideas in my mind about what we want to do for this week. Get through it, and then as we get to the international break, a little bit more longer term planning. Tomorrow, James, you've got Clash of the Correspondents. Who do we have on?
Yeah, Leeds versus Leicester. FPL tactician Aaron Lagor. As I said, we're expecting goals. Friday's obviously Friday deadline for game week 11 in FPL this week. We'll have a People's Poll podcast on Friday, which I suspect is probably going to be Tottenham related because I'm getting enough questions. So I just want to kind of foot in point to go, yep, put me there. Our deadline stream will be 5:30 p.m. UK time on Friday.
Sounds good. And if you want to support any of our additional Patreon content, join some prize mini leagues, join Slack, where you also get access to James's Sky Fantasy Football planning spreadsheet as well. Then you can head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. There's plenty of stuff there. And it's the start of the month, so it's a good time to come and join us. Other than that, we've made it through. So you better get some rest with your head, James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Stay safe, listeners. Thank you, and ciao.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this week. Cue music, please, man, child.